Tonight, NXT treated us to the first of a two-night special in the Great American Bash. We had Joe Hendry's first ever live performance in WWE and 3 championship matches. So let's recap everything that happened on tonight's episode of NXT The Great American Bash. The show opens up with the Women's Tag Team Championships returning to NXT with the Unholy Union defending their belts against Metaphor. Isla Dawn is my second favorite women's wrestler right behind Lyra Valkyria, so it was nice seeing her back on my show. The Unholy Union retained the belts. They're in a feud with Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair, so they weren't going to lose the titles and flip that whole story on its head. But this just reinforced my opinion that we need Women's Tag Team Championships back in NXT. It would really benefit this deep division since there are a lot of teams that can be made here. After the match, Earl Menza comes out to help his teammates. When the champ, Ethan Page, also comes out to the ring, Oro then rolls Ethan Page up and Metaphor count the pin to once again embarrass Ethan Page. And it's starting to feel a bit overdone and is making Ethan Page look a bit weak, especially since Oro Menza isn't that high level talent. But luckily we're getting that match next week and it'll all be over. Backstage, Shawn Spears is trying to recruit some more people to his side and uses Brooks Jensen as an example. Cedric Alexander then calls Jensen weak-minded and Jensen loses his cool and challenges him to a match later on tonight. Tony D'Angelo then defeats Tavion Heights and retains the Heritage Cup, and we need to talk about this for a minute. I don't like the format of the Heritage Cup matches at all. Most of the time, both members of the match get pinned multiple times before the match ends, and it just makes them look weak. I love the Heritage Cup in itself. I've loved it since Noam Dar made it so special. But the matches definitely need to be restructured. Maybe a 2 out of 3 falls match? I'm not sure. I'm not the booker, so it's not my job. But as a regular viewer, this whole format has bugged me for a very long time and it needs to change. Cedric Alexander defeats Brooks Jensen with Shawn Spears looking on. Not too special of a match, but it's good to see Cedric get some dubs, and I'm curious to see what's happening now with Shawn Spears and Brooks Jensen, because it looks like these two are in an alliance, but they're not completely solidified yet. We get a backstage package about Javon Evans helping us to get to know him a bit more, and he says that his childhood favorites and motivation was Jeff Hardy among some others, and same, Jeff Hardy is my favorite wrestler of all time, and I can definitely see some of it in his style. And now the Rascals are in their treehouse in NXT, and Zachary Wentz and Wesley are planning on reuniting MSK and going after those tag team championships that they never lost, and they send a message to the champs asking them for a match soon. And we finally get to the Joe Hendry concert, something many people were looking forward to on tonight's show. I've heard he's done this before on other shows, but this was my first time seeing it for myself, and it was fine. I wasn't expecting anything special. He made some jokes about Shawn Michaels and Booker T, but I'm gonna give an unpopular opinion. I'm not really feeling Joe Hendry. I don't get all the hype around him, and I'm not seeing what others are seeing. And he's honestly really better used in TNA than he's being presented here in NXT, but that's obvious. And now Gallus comes out and they ruin the concert by laying him out, and this makes me love Joe Coffey and Gallus even more. And even though he won't be winning his match next week, I'm really going to be rooting for him hard. In Ava's office, we get the contract signing for the NXT Championship next week between Ethan Page and Earl Menza, and we're finally going to be done with this feud. Jace Yu helps hype up Thea Hale before the main event of her match tonight, and Rich Holland tells Thea Hale to do whatever it takes to win that championship, causing the rest of Jace Yu to look a bit concerned. And Stevie Turner and Robert Stone delivered a contract to Axiom and Nathan Frazier for the title match against MSK, and we're getting that match next week. That's going to be super fun and super exciting, and I'm very looking forward to that match. And now JC Jane, Jasmine Inks, and Fallon Henley defeat the team of Lola Vice, Sol Ruka, and Carmen Petrovic. This squad gives me the vibes of Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark, and Sonya Deville on Monday Night Raw. Just much more interesting and with a ton more aura. They really needed this victory to solidify them as this faction, and this match was fantastic. I highly suggest checking this match out if you can only watch one match on tonight's show. It was very enjoyable, and I wonder what they're going to do with this faction next, because there's no tag team championships they can go after, and I don't think they're going to have a heel versus heel feud with Roxanne Perez, so they're probably going to go after Kalani after she's done with Tatum Paxley. But since we now mention Roxanne Perez, let's get to the main event of the show, where Roxanne Perez ultimately ended up defeating Thea Hale and retaining the NXT Women's Championship. The outcome was expected. It was very obvious. Nobody expected Thea Hale to win, despite a lot of people wanting her to win, but she had a good showing, and ultimately Roxanne Perez retains. But we don't get anybody after the match. A lot of people were expecting Stephanie Vaquer or Julia to finally debut and confront her, or for Cora Jade to return and confront her. But we didn't get anything, and that was kind of disappointing. I was really hoping for the show to end with this big bang, but it didn't. And now I have no idea what's next for Roxanne Perez. But as I do on the end of each of these videos, I give the show a ranking, and tonight's NXT was a 7 out of 10. It was fine, it was an above average show, it wasn't bad or anything. I just felt like it didn't deliver to my expectations, which were honestly really high, probably a bit too high. But next week's show should be a lot better because I'm going in with a bit of a less expectation. So the show should be a lot better for me. And I can see if someone enjoyed the show a lot because it wasn't bad. But that's just my opinion, and I'd like to hear yours. Did you enjoy tonight's show? Was it really good for you? If so, leave it in the comments, just tell me. And leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you guys again soon for my TNA and NXT reviews.